Stream is up.
He's going back out. This livery for ERA, by the way, is really nice. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at
Let's have a look at it now.
the orange Lexus.
People are gonna just show it. Oh, he's just coming out the pits.
Perfect timing. Just coming out the pits now. Let me know when you're.
Oh, he's gonna give himself the 3-second penalty though. Yeah, we're live. Oh yeah, lovely little orange livery.
It's actually a really nice livery. I didn't. Surprisingly, I'm not usually a fan of this colour scheme, but it's actually quite nice. Are you in the Lexus Falls? The Lexus,
The Lexus, yeah.
So if he's driving,
Lexus is going to be good
round here.
The
Lexus now.
Lexus is going to be good round here because of its tank, and people are going to try and stretch out the one stop, I reckon.
Yeah, you're probably right there, actually. I wouldn't be too well. They'd have to go for a full tank at the hole.
Yeah. Hello, Eli. Yes, we can see you. Right, okay, welcome everybody. This is an hour and 15 minutes late, but we're here. No thanks to Virgin Internet deciding to go down, but it's fixed itself. So, we're entering into Season 4 now of our esports team. We have 10 teams, 2 of them are brand new, and one of them is returning after a season off. And it's going to be a sweaty one, I reckon.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be probably the quickest we've seen esports ever, especially in this league. And yeah, it's going to be very tough for certain teams to be able to hold on to what they got last season. That's a certain.
Yes, definitely. I think it was a little bit. Well, there were some opportunities, I would say, last season to get some really good results, increase your portfolio, and I think a couple of teams really took advantage of that. Falcon and Cavar, and also Project Platypus. But this season, I think it's going to be a bit more difficult. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to start in reverse championship order from last season and just go through everyone, what they're driving, what they've done so far in esports, and yeah, how we think they're going to do essentially?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it. Go from I guess we go from newcomers first, and then all the way up to our reigning champions to end off. Okay.
Well, should we start with who's on screen right now? We've got ERA, Esports Race Asylum team, who are brand new to ALR, but not brand new to racing. This is a team that is we're expecting to be incredibly quick.
Yeah, and potential favourites going into the season, I think. That's just joining the lobby as well, so we're just starting to populate the lobby a little bit. But yeah, these guys, in my opinion, anyway, from the very limited knowledge that we've seen prior and everything of that kind of knowledge, anyway, are my favourites to win the entire thing this season. And you'd be a very brave man to back against them.
Yeah, these guys,
in my opinion.
These guys all seem to be what we call alien base. Who you've got on screen now is ERA Evo. He is going to be in the Lexus this season. Another ERA driver, Jakey, is also going to be in the Lexus. So these guys being a bit tactical here with the potential of one stopping a little bit easier and extending that first stint, because you only start with half a tank. That could come in really handy for these two.
Yeah, and obviously with the fuel tank, they're going to get more laps out of this, and then the entire thing might open up a bit easier, a strategy a little bit easier for them as we go along. But they've come with 6 drivers, so they've also got depth in their roster for the season as well. We've obviously got Evo on the screen. You talked about Jakey and the Lexus as well. They've also got Mikey BRFC, which we've seen in an eval, I believe, a couple of months
I was
ago,
beating him for 2 laps in the eval, and then he overtook me, so.
He's gonna hold on to that until the end of time now.
Those were hey, okay. He outqualified me. I was like 4th, and I think he was either 1st or 2nd. I got a beautiful start, overtook, Defended pretty well. He was quite good. He was quite patient actually. So that's my claim to fame against ERA. And then yeah, but definitely I think if all these guys raced on Monday, they'd all be in tier 1. I think it's safe to say. I mean, you can see Evo's out on track right now. He's his first lap was a 43.7, so he's already in the 43s. What we're expecting to see on Sunday around here is basically you need to be in the 43s if you're getting into lobby A, and he's just done it on his first lap, so this isn't going to be an issue for him, I don't think. And he's just beaten that again. He's now on a 43.4.
Yeah, it's gonna. I'd about to say you might be looking a little bit lower than that. This is the kind of standards he's setting in lap 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, and they're in the Lexus. Remember, you've also got 2 guys from eSport Racers Island that are in the Supra, which is going to be the favoured car for this track, which is Mike, as I mentioned earlier, and also Cyan as well.
I was waiting to see how you said it. What's his name?
He's going to be labelled forevermore as Cyan, and that's about it.
I think it's Sinan. I think. I'm not sure though. You might be right. I think it
might be.
Sinan Koch. Sinan Koch. I don't know. In the Supra, he's going to be really quick. Actually, let's see who's racing this week for ERA, because they've already submitted their rosters. Not everyone has. So they've got Evo, Nick, and Jakey. So 2 Lexuses and a Gen X. So Nick, the only one in the Gen X, but another one I'm expected to be super quick here. We saw how good the Gen was at Monza last season, which is another high-speed track.
Yeah, and Monza being more acceleration than high speed, but
yeah.
Gen X is good anywhere. Good anywhere, especially over the last couple of updates.
Did you see that? He nearly came out of the bus stop there.
Bit of a mare there as he comes through.
Okay,
but yeah,
I knew that was going to be a pen.
I would expect him. I would expect the Gen X to be really good here in particular as he's racing on Sunday. So it might be the one to chase down as a whole.
Yeah.
But all these guys have pace, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if we saw a clinic or 2 this season from ERA. That's a certain. Piling
on the pressure.
They've also got a Porsche ERA. I think that's Stepadre, I think it's how that's pronounced. Yeah,
not to be confused with Syndra. Stepadre. So that's a really strong team. Like I said, we're expecting big things for them. Probably a permanent feature in Lobby A unless something goes horribly wrong in qualifying, which it can and will happen at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's bound to happen. Law of averages. You'll get one person who has a bad day at the office, but it's gonna take something, I think, to someone special to maybe to stop these guys throughout this season.
Yeah.
Which we kind of have a couple of teams that might be able to bring that someone special to the table.
Yes, absolutely. Should we move on to Spider GT now, the second brand new team?
Yeah, that's what they've brought 5 drivers with them.
Let's have a look at Asseldal and talk about that.
Dance.
Yeah, so Spider GT have no one that people from ALR who haven't really been paying much attention to esports would be that familiar with, but they are all incredibly fast drivers once again. We've got Tim Gren, who's the team captain, who raced at the very end of last season in Monday. He's racing full-time on Monday League as well this time round. He's in the Aston Martin Vantage, which we know is a really good car for this track as well. Joining him in Aston Martin is another driver who we don't know anything about. I don't think we've seen him race, but he's another one who's meant to be super quick. Ave Gobadi, I think he's called.
This is going to be great for commentary this season.
I'm going to call him Ave.
They're all going to get. Everyone's going to get shortened names at some point during this season.
Varspotter this is not in this season, so at least I don't have to deal with that.
That's the reason why I just shortened it to the end of his name. It was like, I am going to walk away with this and just not get caught out.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely some names that are going to catch us already. But yeah, those 2 are definitely going to be good.
Both of them racing on Sunday as well.
Yeah, then you've got Ramster, who's got a interesting choice of car, I'll say, at the very
Honda
least.
NSX.
Honda NSX 17.
Yeah, the old new one.
Yeah, it's an interesting car choice because we have recently seen this car pop up in ALR. Obviously, that was done in the charity race. For those who didn't watch that, we had that the 15th of February, so that would have been pretty much a week ago now.
Yeah. We've seen it in esports before as well. We've seen it in esports, and we've seen it in Tier 1, and I would argue that it hasn't gone well anywhere. The problem is it's got really high tyre wear, the Honda NSX, so even though we're only on 2 times, it's gonna limit the strategies at some of these tracks. But he's not racing tonight. I don't know, they might have a genius plan for him at a certain track where the Honda's really strong. Who is racing, not tonight, on Sunday, is JDC in the Porsche. So what do you think about that? The Porsche around here.
The Porsche around here, it's going to be interesting when you've got the downforce tuning, because that's what we have. So you might be able to spin that Porsche a little bit better in terms of the top speed, in terms of the speed down the bankings in Daytona, because that's where most of the time is on this track, right? When you get into the outfield there, you see in the back of the shots we are putting on, and as a whole, like, the bankings are going to be where the time is, so you're going to have to try and force out as much top end speed as possible, which Porsche isn't really known for. So that's why I'm slightly well, not confused, but concerned for him come Sunday.
Yeah, but 43s are possible still in the Porsche, and also if these guys are going to be playing the slipstream game or bump drafting game in qualifying, which I think if every single team has to be attempting, because if you get that right, that's just easily all 3 of your cars are in the top 10.
But yeah, you've got to be, if you get it wrong, and they're getting it wrong can also backfire quite drastically and send you the other way. So it's high risk, but it's also high reward.
Exactly. If you want to be starting on pole position, right. But the thing is, we got a standing start, and he's going to be in the Porsche on a standing start. So no matter which lobby he qualifies in, he'll be probably outside the top 10 by turn 1 with a really long run from the start line.
Yeah, that Porsche starts are tragic at best.
Yeah.
Tragic at the best of times, and if you want to go worst case scenario, well, good luck getting off the line of the whole. But yeah, and
final driver is a big one as well. Lugi. Yeah. I've heard lots about Lugi. That he's very, very quick. So he's one who's potential to watch out for pole positions when he races. He's not racing on Sunday, and that's because he's chosen the Huracan this season. So expect to see him on some of the medium speed and the lower speed tracks this season. I don't know if we've got a low speed track actually, probably not. Where the Huracan really shines. I think he'll be a definite contender for race wins.
I was about to say, when we go to tracks like Autopolis later on in the season, because that's the only track onto this calendar we hadn't actually seen yet, that I'm saying quite.
Very true.
But when we come to Autopolis midway through the season, you would expect that Huracan to be exceptionally good there in particular. So we'll keep an eye out mid to late season then for him.
Sorry, just a Hurricane in the chat thinks the 43.4 is on mediums. No, he's put on mediums. The 44.6 is on mediums though, so that's probably your soft times, Hurricanes. Sorry about that. I'll be
his Monday team already.
I'll be catching up with you in Lobby B on Sunday, Hurricane, for sure. See you there.
Absolutely getting the shovel out at his Monday teammate right now.
Yes, if anyone's allowed, it's me. So yeah, okay, predictions for Spider then, what do you think? So we've said that we think ERA, just for reference for anyone joining, is, I'm being told off, is they're going to contend for the championship. What do you think for Spider? Championship contenders?
I certainly think they're top 3. I certainly think
okay.
I said this before we went on stream. Well, if you could hear me through my internet dying a miserable death,
no, I couldn't.
that these guys would be, like, at the very least top 3, but I also think that they could easily fight ERA if they play their cards right during the season.
So Hurricane, he's just set a 44 flat on mediums. Just let you know. I'm just reporting the facts. I'm not being disrespectful.
He says.
So yeah, I reckon Spider's definitely gonna be up there. The question is, we don't. They're the most unknown team to me. I don't know much about any of them. They could potentially, have beat loads of mistakes. We've seen that happen with a lot of guys who are fast. They could have the consistency. That's what it's going to come down to. But definitely, a contender to actually win the whole thing for me as well.
Yeah, and talking about consistency in terms of going through an entire team depth is important, and that brings us on to the next team. We've had an ALR before a couple of seasons ago, but they were, well, Super GT was the only one doing anything for a large portion of that season. We got FGR back.
Yeah, FGR
in the running.
Finished 4th place in Season 2, then took a season off, and now they're back. Being led by Aura, I think, seems to be the quickest driver. So we saw Aura race for Arix a little bit last season for the 2 of the last 3 rounds. He was in the 4 GT though. This time around he's in the GR Super, and I think he's going to be contending for wins. He's still not won a race yet. I think he's done maybe 6 or 7 races at this point, but I think he's going to potentially win. And well, he could clean up this season. He's one of the quickest drivers I've ever commentated on, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it is just a case of when, not if, Aura wins a race in this league, and also 43.9 now on medium tires, because, aliens.
Because why not? Because why not? So I guess that means that you don't lose much time on the mediums compared to the softs, though.
No, that's
he's got a
something
quarter
to
of a
look
tank
out
as
for
well.
On Sunday.
He's just casually 2 whole
Aura...
seconds quicker than Hasseldor. But anyway, yeah, back to Feel Good Racing. Aura, yeah, what do you think? Do you think he's going to be the MVP this season?
He's definitely going to be the MVP on FGR team. I just think it is going to be a case of when, not if, that he eventually wins a race.
Yes.
He's been extremely unfortunate through through 3 of his first 5 races.
Yeah, the best driver never to win a race, I think, is the best way of saying it.
Yeah, he's also got a couple of drivers to follow him up with here. He's brought Millis with him.
Yeah, Millis, I think, did a single race. He was very quick. I think he was in the race that Hizal was in. So, yeah, if you've seen that one, I think he finished in the top 5. I think potentially P4, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's a decent chunk of time ago now. You'll have to correct us if we're wrong, but it was a relatively strong showing from FGR as a whole in that race, and I think that's the race that they're going to look at and say that we've got to bring that into this season in order to stand any sort of a chance, because let's be honest, that day no one would be in Hizal, no one could step to him, or tried, admittedly, but no one with any reasonable mind would have stepped would have been able to beat Hizal. So they've just got to look at that and go, that's what we've got to emulate.
All season long, essentially, with this lineup as well.
Do that 8 times, they've got a solid chance.
Yeah. So, so we got Milius. He's in the Gen X, which, again, is going to be really strong at a track like this where he's racing on Sunday. The other one racing on Sunday is Ruppy. He's in the Nissan GTR. I think he did quite a few of the races last time. I think his challenge will be he's had some time away, showed some really good pace, and just needs the consistency to finish as high as I think he could challenge in the top 5 quite regularly, to be honest. If he's going to be one of the main drivers again, he is selected for round 1.
Yeah, I do think he has got a lot of untapped pace that we didn't get to see in season 2.
Yeah.
So I would be very interested to see where he goes this time. But yeah, it's going to be about for FGR not one-man teaming this and getting some help along the way this time, because it's a lot stronger than it was 2 seasons ago, I think, this championship. And also, the last time they were here, it was very much on the shoulders of Super GT for a long time. So they've got to come more unified, I think is the best way of putting it for this round.
I think they were unlucky. Like every race, something happened, so at least one of the drivers wasn't scoring points. Like it was either not out getting everyone in lobby A, which is going to be massive again, a massive target for everyone here this season, just 100% lobby A's, and then trying to get in the top 10 where the big points are. And if you could get 3 drivers in the top 10 regularly, you're going to be challenging at the end. That's not what they could quite do last time round. Then they've got 2 more drivers who, well, one is the team captain Beat Sports in the GR Supra. They've also got Berib G1 in the Porsche 911, and their final driver, who I accidentally skipped over, is Rabak. He did race the first round in Atlanta, and I think he finished 6th, if I remember right. I think he was pretty high up, so he's another one to watch out for when he ends up getting his chance to race a little bit later on in the season.
Yeah. But as a whole, they've got a couple of drivers that are unknown to us, especially Beat Sports. Beat Sports is the one we don't know too much about. They are the captain of the team. So we'll see what he can do in terms of leadership for the FGR team this time, potentially bring them towards, well, closer to a championship than they were a couple of seasons ago. I think they will achieve that. They ended 4th 2 seasons ago. I think they will be top 3 this time.
Yeah, I think they can improve for sure. They've chosen a good group of cars for the calendar. Again, it's the same as everyone. It's who's going to be the most consistent team, because they all are a fairly similar pace. I think it was Rabak who did the same evaluation race as Mike BRFC from Esports Race Asylum, and they were pretty similar on fastest laps and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be a close one between all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that brings us on to teams that actually raced last season then, do they not?
Yes, 7 to go. So the team that finished last isn't racing this season, although half of the drivers are racing for other teams. So the team that finished in 7th place was our new team last season, Project Racing United. So yeah, do you want to go through a couple of these guys?
Yeah, so Project Racing United last season let me down big time because I thought they'd beat Pegasus.
Yeah, you made the worst prediction in the history of ALR. Are you going to make the same prediction this time?
Prediction. No, we've already had our conversation, our predictions off screen. We'll bring that up later on. But yeah, they brought 7 drivers with them, a little bit more in depth this time than they were last season. We'll start with Alfie in the AMG 20.
Yeah, he's racing on Sunday in the AMG 20 as well.
Yeah, and you've just done a 24-hour race not that long ago in the AMG here, and you're going to be under the impression that this is not a good car for this track in particular.
I think points in Lobby B could be tough in the AMG 20 for Alfie. He's only done 1 race though in ALR, so we don't have much to go on. So potentially he's improved a lot from his first round, which was a little bit messy. I think it's fair to say it was around Dragon Trail. I mean, it's obviously going to be messy. So yeah, a lot of potential for improvement for him. But I'm just not convinced that AMG is the right car to be entering into race around Daytona, because you just lose so much time on the straights. It doesn't have the top speed that all these other cars are going to be having.
Yeah, he is gonna struggle. He's gonna have to find some pace, and he's gonna have to find it quickly. Otherwise, it's gonna turn into a very long night on Sunday. They've also got their second driver they entered in, Long Chicken, which is an absolute great name, by the way. Yeah, another one of those that we actually saw a decent chunk of last season.
Yes, he improved as the season went on, so I'm expecting him to continue his improvement. I think did he get into Lobby A in the last race in round 6?
I believe there was one race.
I think it was him.
So
there
is a standout race for him, and I guess it's going to be Project Racing United as a whole are very much in the situation that Kavar was, who now Apex, we'll go through them in a minute, was in at the beginning of last season, where I remember being on this stream and going that they just needed to find a way to build on their points total. We didn't expect, none of us expected anything from them. And I think Project Racing United are in the same boat, especially going into this one.
Yeah, I think they've improved from last season though, Project Racing United. Looking at this roster, they've kind of kept hold of a lot of their good ones. Some of them have got promotions, and then they've done well at recruiting. Let's just say that. Next up is actually the captain of the team, who's never raced actually before in ALR, Yannick, in the Porsche 911 this season. So I'm very keen to see what his pace is like.
I was about to say, he's been around here since the start. He's been very active since the start, but never got the chance to race. So if he does get the chance to race at some point, we're going to get a very telling look on how everything is behind the scenes there. That's for certain. I am looking forward to seeing if he gets the chance to race. He definitely deserves the opportunity.
Oh, definitely. I hope he could get a good result as well. Absolutely no idea how quick he is.
No. No, there's going to be a lot.
Maybe we'll find out why he's never entered himself. I don't know. Right. Okay. Next one. Brumadinho. So you might remember Bruma. He was from Panthera, and now Pegasus. Actually, its full name is 9 Pegasus Panthera. So it's kind of absorbed another esports team, and Broom is here, and he's going to be racing for Project Racing United. I'm a little bit surprised he's not in Pegasus, because he's a very quick guy. Used to race in Tier 1 when he first joined ALR, and then was in Tier 2 for a few seasons as well. He's only race in esports. He was in Lobby B in Season 2, and I think he ended up on the podium. So he's definitely capable of getting some good results this season when he races in his M6. We don't have many M6s this season, by the way. It's not the most popular car for the first time
in forever. Yeah, I was about to say it's been a long time since that's been the case. But we'll see how long it takes for Bruma to cause irreversible damage to anyone's championship.
Probably his teammates.
But yeah, definitely need definitely need Bruma to be on top bomb for if they're going to improve that points total from last season, as we said that they needed to do. They've also got Mathis in the Huracan, which isn't going to suit this track, but will suit again later on.
But he is racing on Sunday.
Good luck.
Yeah, so got an AMG and a Huracan racing on Sunday. That's going to be... They both don't have high top speeds, so that is going to be tough for both of them. And what I was saying about teams needing to work together if they want to get a good qualifying result, I think Project Racing United need to work together the absolute most, because they are not getting anywhere near 43s as it stands. We got Otto in the lobby. He's not actually racing on Sunday. He's in the Audi though, which would have been ideal around here. So I'm hoping Otto could kind of like put in a dead good lap here and just go, look, put me in. Oh no, he's just span. Never mind.
And that is what we call well timed.
Oh man. But he is in a great car. He's actually racing in this car on Monday League as well, and he's reversing around the track now.
Oh god, the commentator's cursed already, and we're not even in week 1. It's brilliant.
What a time! What a time to be alive.
Yeah, and then Project Racing United's final driver is a driver very well known to ALR. It's Whack Jumps. He's in the Nissan GTR 18. He's racing on Sunday as well, isn't he?
He is. So he's joined from Project Platypus. He's only ever raced once in esports, and that was in Season 1. He was in the Renault back when it was horrible at Spa, and I think he finished like 12th or 13th. So he's not got much of a benchmark to improve on. And I actually think he could be the team leader for Project Racing United. He's looked very, very fast since this update, to the point where if you're thinking of who to put in your predictor challenge, you wouldn't do bad to put Whack as you pick for Tier 3 white. Yeah, he's just found about a second a lap, I would say, comfortably.
Yeah,
and that's bad news for you as his teammate this season.
Hey, that's it. I'm only here for the championship. That's excellent news for me. I was about to say, I don't win enough races to become driver to do anything in the driver championship anyway. This is perfectly fine.
Oh man.
Yeah. There's definitely a possibility that Project Racing United, at least, even if they don't potentially improve on their position, they may improve on their points total, which I think is their main aim this season.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, what are your predictions for this team then? They finished 7th out of 8 last season, for reference.
It wouldn't be too surprising if these guys ended last. I just think they will end up slightly better than their points total from last season. But Yeah, it's not a slight on them by any means, but it is we've got a lot better competition in this now, and they're gonna have to find some pace to catch up.
Oh, he's lost it again! This is what's going to happen with their season as well. Potentially. Anyway, I reckon they did incredibly well last season to avoid finishing last. I think that was a really good result. They ended up getting quite a few surprise Lobby A appearances. But only one of the existing team has ever qualified in Lobby A, and that includes Auto, who's raced quite a lot. He's never managed to get into Lobby A. He's been at the very top of Lobby B in qualifying, but just a couple of places shy. So yeah, it might be a struggle for them, but there's more points on offer in Lobby B. If they could get consistent podiums, that is another way of amassing a serious amount of points.
Yeah, and they're going to have to do it that way, I reckon. But yeah, that brings us on to... Oh, I got reset again. Oh, it's having a really fun time at this.
I know. He's giving us a show. He probably knows that. He's probably listening to us, to be honest. Okay, Pegasus, the parent team. I forgot what you even call them of Project Racing United. 9 Pegasus Panthera, so it's like 700 teams morphed into one. But at this point, but Pegasus, I think, is what we will be calling it for ease. This has a driver who has never failed to qualify for Lobby A. Asseldor, who's in the pits at the moment, in the Lexus RCF this season. He's going to be racing on Sunday.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good stat to have, but, you know, when you've got... This is a new level of competition, realistically, and we'll see how long that stat stands for. I don't particularly see it lasting for too... Well, empty, didn't you? But yeah, I don't see that stat lasting too much longer, if I'm completely honest with you.
Yeah.
I think, again, Pegasus might be in for another rough ride. They ended 6th last season. They narrowly missed out on the final couple of races, and of course, if that's the case, they want to improve on it. They want to get themselves into a top 5, but they're going to face a lot tougher competition than they did last season, this season. So they're going to struggle.
Yeah. So they finished both Season 2 and Season 3 Pegasus in 6th place, just missing out on qualifying into the final couple of rounds of the season. Famously, Hizal almost got them there with his race win, but last season it was a lot closer with Kavar and with Aero, and they were the one team that lost out. So if they can use Asseldor a little bit more this season, I think they'll have a good chance of basically, yes, I did pyro, of basically, they just need lobby A's in it more often than not. What they struggled with a lot last season was they had only one driver ever in lobby A at a time, and everyone else was scrapping for really low amounts of points.
Yeah, they've got to figure it out. They've got to figure it out quickly. I also think they've got a couple of drivers that are potentially quicker than Asseldor as well in this team. Those being Los Blancos, currently in this lobby. His GT name is Baba Yaga. He did one race last season that I remember off the top of my head, Tokyo, and was 6th in qualifying and ended up in lobby A as well. So he's not a stranger to a quick race and a quick pace as well. So he's definitely got the chance. I think he's their best chance in the LDRA of getting it consistently into lobby A, and he's gonna have to pull something out. He's
in the 43s right now, put it that way. He's done a 44 flat, take it back, but he's definitely more than capable of getting into lobby A. He is another one racing tonight. He's just gone back into the pits. Asseldor's out, so let's watch him for a little bit. The other one racing on Sunday, I keep saying it's tonight because I just can't wait, is an ex-V2 driver. So we got 2 V2 drivers on the team from last season. Mortal and Snipes, which I think it's safe to say were the fastest on paper. Mortal is in another one in the Lexus this time round, and I know that he can get in the 43s as well, so he could potentially, they could get all 3 of these in lobby A, actually, looking at this lineup.
Yeah, it could potentially be the case that they do that, but we will wait and see. They also have going back to Snipes, he just did a qualifying at Daytona and put up a 43 as well. So They have a wealth of options for pace this season. We'll wait and see whether or not they use it, and whether or not they use it in a manner where they won't wait too long to pull the trigger on it and get the fastest guys out there.
Yeah, that's a really... excuse me, Asseldor's not racing on Sunday. It's actually Autonomous, who is Kyokan, who was in Project Racing United. He got promoted to Pegasus. He was pretty quick. He got podiums in Lobby B fairly often. I think he did one appearance in Lobby A. I can't remember. I think it was once.
Fair enough. Yeah, he's in the Toyota Supra, so good car for this track as well.
Great
so
car.
Gotta figure it out. Get the slipstreams in. They might be able to spoil a little bit of the party come Sunday. They also have Max M, who we have seen before a couple of times. It's been a season or so since we've last seen him in the Porsche 911.
No, he was racing. You just never commentated on him. He raced quite a bit last season, actually.
That's one way to call him out. That's one way to call him out. That is one way of calling him out, Ross. Jesus.
I'm the stat guy. That was a statistic. He has had podiums though in Lobby B. So I'm not sure if he's ever been in Lobby A. He's been in Pegasus since season 1 though. But he's the only one of like the OG Pegasus boys to still be here this season. Yeah. Oh, maybe the other guys will get entered later on. There's still 2 spots left. There's also the potential that Hizal could make an appearance. You never know.
Never closed the door on that.
I'd love to see how Hizal would do against all these guys, actually.
It would definitely be a closer race than the one we had a couple of seasons ago.
I don't think so.
You can hope, right? Also, yeah, then they also have Rayan in the Huracan as well.
Oh, is he a late addition?
Yeah, he's one of their...
Rayan? He's a tier 1 driver, isn't he? It's the same one?
I believe so. Yeah, KW Rayan, I believe. Yeah, he is in tier 1 on Monday, so... nice little addition. They definitely have a lot more pace than they did last season. The real question is, had that pace stepped up alongside the level of the competition that's also joined this season, which is the potential issue I think Pegasus are going to run into.
The good thing for Pegasus is they have a lot of guys with experience of how this works, the format, what you need to do, the strategies, so that should put them in good stead for this season. It just depends how much they are working together on setups and all that kind of stuff to get every 1/10 of a second out, because that's what's going to be the difference. A 1/10 of a second is probably going to separate 12th and 20th in qualifying in some tracks.
Yeah, it's going to be... I think if they get themselves in the top 7, I think they've done themselves a good service this season, Pegasus, which it's kind of a step back in terms of where they are, how close they've been to getting into the dance realistically in week 6, 7 and 8, but I just think we've got a much higher standard in this season, in this league now, which means they've got to step their game up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree. I think they could be in the mix for around about 5th position with some consistency. So that their target is to get into the top 5 for sure. But it's going to be a harder challenge than last season. But yeah, the next one. So we're in the top 5 now, halfway through. We've got a bunch of teams that have only entered 4 drivers so far. The first one is the team that only enters 4 drivers ever, because that's the minimum allowed. Otherwise, they'd enter 3, I'm sure. It's Kavar, who have rebranded now. They're called Apex. So we still have Hollywood, and we still have Fluffy Butt, as always. Hollywood's in the M6, Fluffy Butt's in the Aston Vantage. We've got Latari in the Vantage as well, but he is going to be the reserve, so I don't think we're going to be seeing as much of him this season. Despite the fact he did pretty well, I think, on his season there. He won Lobby B race. But we have a new driver called Thunderdome in the M6. All I know is that he's an A+ driver.
That's a good start. That is definitely a good start. But we'll wait and see on how his pace is going, and that's going to be the case on Sunday. We're going to find a lot of answers out immediately on how this season is going to play out, because all of the drivers that we are calling wildcards that we don't really know the proper pace of will be out there, and they will have to actually put on what they can do, and we will get obviously a much clearer view by the end of Sunday than we would have at this point in time when we're just speculating.
Yeah, so just some info on Apex. For last season, they were in Lobby A more often than not, which was a huge improvement from the first season, where I think they only had 1 or 2 appearances, or maybe didn't even ever qualify into Lobby A. I can't quite remember. There was some crazy stat like that though, floating about. So they've kind of shook that camel off the back, and which I don't think is the phrase, but let's go with it. And Hollywood especially is team captain. He's kind of the team leader in terms of amassing the points as well. He's always very consistent, and even if he has setbacks, he manages to recover. Plenty of podiums. I think he won a race last season in Lobby B as well. So they know how to make the best, even if they don't get into Lobby A.
Yeah,
not many top 10 overall finishing positions though, was there?
Not really, but they were definitely a surprise package overall, because as I mentioned earlier on in this stream, last season it was a case of they just needed to increase their point total. It didn't matter where they finished, they just needed to do that one step better, and then they made the dance. So, like, it couldn't have gone much better than what last season went for them, albeit maybe a little bit disappointing and like towards the end with the way they finished.
Yeah.
They're going to be extremely happy with the top 5 finish, and if they could repeat the same again, I think it would be potentially an even bigger surprise this season.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can't write them off now, because I don't think either of us fancied their chances last season, and they absolutely surprised us. So expecting more of the same, especially because, for example, Hollywood's still in the M6. He's going to be very comfortable in that car at this point. Fluffy Butt's changed to the Vantage, and Thunderdome in the M6 as well. So they're going to be working together really closely on strategy, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, and it's just going to be a case of getting themselves as high as they physically can and trying to take advantage of those opportunities when they get handed to them, because that's what it's going to be, picking people off at the right time. And we'll see where they can go from doing that, I guess. And at the end of the day, if they can get themselves a good position, I think if they can get themselves toward the top 5, they'd be absolutely astounded by that.
Yeah, I think the direct rivals are Pegasus again, and Aero GT, who we'll talk about next. I think these 3 will be scrapping pretty close together, and if there's one that can break out of that pack, then they can challenge the top 5. But it won't be all 3 of them. They're all occupying the same space.
Yeah, and we'll see who's going to get a little bit of supremacy between the 3 of them as we go along, which brings us to Aero GT, if I am correct.
Yeah, Aero GT, a team that has always finished in the top 5. So not many teams can boast that. I think it's only them, Arix, and Project Platypus that can say that. Going to be a bit tougher for them this season, but they do have some really good drivers. Everyone watching will know who all these are. So I'll rattle them off quickly, then we can talk about them all in a bit more. So we've got Hurricane in the Mazda RX Vision. He's the new captain. Owen, Tier 1 driver Owen in the Porsche 911. L. Ian, who's in Tier 2 this season in the BMW M6, so I expect him to be very quick. Prime Cole, who's in Tier 2 Lexus RCF. Bad Robot, who is in Tier 2 as well in the Ferrari. And Fancy Locks, who's in Tier 3 in the Ford GT, the same car that he's got in Monday League, and a car that's going to be really quick at certain tracks. They have not submitted. Oh yes, they have. Hurricane, Owen, and Prime Call are racing. So that is Hurricane in the Mazda, Prime Call in the Lexus, and Owen in the Porsche. So what do you think of that lineup and that selection of cars?
I'm surprised that Fancy Locks is not doing this race, because his car probably might be only suited to
It's
this.
perfect for it, isn't it? Yeah.
It's about as good of a crack as the Ford GT could get, I think.
I mean, maybe he's just slower than the other 3.
So it's going to be interesting. I would be using that car here, but obviously Owen, always a good shout. He's currently 8/10 of a second behind Evo in this lobby, and Evo just pulled a 43.2 out of his ass, and I'm assuming that's on a soft tyre. So it's probably indicative of how the season's indicative of whereabouts Aero GT think they can be. That gap, but yeah, Owen is obviously going to be their points leader. He's the one that's going to be the guy that's maybe not the team captain anymore, but it is going to ride on his back quite heavily this season.
Yeah, Owen always gets in Lobby A. There was one race last season, it was an absolute disaster for him. He was in Lobby B, and then he should have won it, but he didn't. That was in Tokyo. I don't think he'd had much practice for it, to be honest. But yeah, expecting him to be in Lobby A all the time as a permanent fixture. And then, so coming up this week, we've got Hurricane in the Mazda, which is really quick. So could potentially get in Lobby A, because that Mazda just carries on accelerating. And then Prime Colin the Lexus, we've seen him in Lobby A last season. We've seen him win Lobby B last season. So he's just on, I think, for a good result regardless of which lobby he ends up in.
I was about to say, Prime Cole is one that is consistent. Maybe not the most pace in any car, but he's definitely a consistent driver. You find
Yes.
it's very hard to make Prime Cole make a mistake, and that's his.
That's true.
His quality, I think, when into this team, is that you can always have him to depend on that he won't make the mistake. You get the guys who are quick, but like Owen and Hurricane, but Hurricane in particular, is liable to a mistake fairly often.
Although, having said that, shout out to Hurricane absolutely dominating Lobby B's race at Alsace last season, as we see Owen going wider than I've ever seen anyone go into turn 1. And yeah, Hurricane didn't put a foot wrong there, won it by about 30 plus seconds as well from anyone else. It was, so he's got it in him, and yeah, that might be the confidence that he needs to kick on this season.
Yeah, it is going to be very interesting. I am very interested to see where they can go, but I think Owen is still going to be that kind of. He's going to be the guy on the team, and it's going to ride on him mostly where they end the season, especially against Pegasus and Apex. I'm gonna keep wanting to call them out a Cav all season.
Yeah,
that's going to happen, but
we'll get used to it.
They're Apex now. But yeah, if we believe that that's the battle where they're all trying to vie for the same space, I'll come backwards again, then Owen is the guy that's going to have to try and separate himself from the rest of the pack. Yeah,
agreed. So, do you think they're finishing top 5?
No, I personally think that they're going to probably be the best of the rest, in my opinion, in terms of we have, in my opinion, 6 teams that can go either way, because we don't really know a lot about 3 of them, and we know a lot, too much maybe, about the other 3. And then I reckon that Aero GT will be on the outside of those 6.
Well, on paper, yes, but you've said this before about Aero, and they end up in the top 5. And I've always put them in the top 5, and they've always ended up in the top 5. So I'm putting them in the top 5 again, and I'm going to be right again, and you're going to look daft again, and Owen's going to carry the team, but everyone else is going to chip in. We're going to see loads of Lobby A appearances, and it's just going to be plain sailing for Aero GT. And then once they're in the top 5, they're just going to put their feet up like they do usually, and just go, yeah, that was a good season, wasn't it? While everyone else battles it out to the death for the championship. Done and dusted. Season 4 finished.
Okay, well, that's a very strong opinion. I'll say that much.
Okay.
That is gonna I think that is gonna backfire. We might be looking at the opposite.
Still not gonna be as bad as your prediction last season.
I don't know. That might be on par. We'll wait and see.
Okay. Right. Our lab. Our lab Falcon. It's called Falcon R Lab, Racing Lab. This is like another combination of 2 teams working together. So GT Ahmed has raced loads of times in ESPORTS, and he is the new team captain of this one. He's in the Nissan GTR, so he's changed from the Gen X to the Nissan, and he was pretty much a solid top 6 finisher last season, always in Lobby A. And yeah, I'd expect the same for him again this season. And then he's got 2 Racing Lab drivers. Do you want to go through those 2? Both in the same car as well.
Yeah, let me just get it up 1 second. Yeah, he's got Dino, which we've seen a lot of. Dino's one of those who usually sees himself just outside that podium spot and picks off whoever makes the mistake. We saw it quite heavily, actually, last season. It was Blue Moon in particular with BX and company, where they all made mistakes. He picked the podium as a result. And, yeah, we'd expect more of that from Dino, and I think he might be their big-name guy this season. and they also have Halex as well, which is not to be confused with the team from Season 2.
Yes, the driver...
But,
or is it Harlex? It's 2 A's, so it might not be Hay, it might be Har. We'll have to find out.
I was about to say, if we are wrong, then we'll probably get corrected sometime in the next 25
Do you know
minutes.
anything about this guy's pace, Harlex?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'm interested to see it, because if you've got yourself onto a team like Falcon Harlab in the series, then you're definitely not a slouch.
Yeah.
That's a certain.
Yeah,
so
he's going to be quick.
You're going to have something about you. You've got to have something about you to be able to bring to the team. So I am very intrigued to see what he does bring. But I guess we'll find out sooner rather than later.
And then the last driver is actually it's Pasty, so everyone knows Pasty. He's been on the team since it was formed as well. He's in the GR Supra, so they haven't submitted the team yet. I'm interested to know if they're going to put Pasty in for round 1, because obviously the Supra would be suited to it, but I don't think he's got the pace of the other 3. Interestingly, they haven't entered Syndra yet. Syndra, just for a reminder, came second and first in the last 2 races of last season. Pretty much stamped his authority as being the man to beat. But he's not. It doesn't look like he's going to be making an appearance on Sunday. Maybe they're saving him for later in the season before they reveal what car he wants to be in. Maybe it's a tactical move. Maybe not. Maybe he's gone. If he's gone, then or if he doesn't make many appearances this season, I think Falcon could struggle to get top 5.
Yeah,
and if he's there, I think they could challenge for the whole thing.
Agreed. They're definitely going to struggle without him. He's definitely the big man, so to speak, on the whole team, and he would be a miss. He would definitely be a miss, and they would then all the pressure gets heaped straight onto Dino's back if Syndra doesn't show up at any point. So
yes,
it's gonna require a couple, especially the big guys, to chip in a lot this season if they are going to challenge, because they do have the potential to challenge. They have the pace and the drivers as well. It's just a case of whether or not they're going to use them.
Yeah, and then they've also lost a driver. Alessandro's no longer with Falcon. He's moved to another team. So that is another blow for them, because he was very solidly in the top 10 all season long. I think he had a pole position as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
that's
he
a
did
big loss.
Stars in the Porsche. Yep. It didn't last very well. It didn't last very long. The part that Alexar's race went against him very quickly. BX and Zico decided that they wanted to turn up very early and just took that away from him. But yeah, he has... he'd gone to the next team that we're going to actually cover here, isn't he? He's off to... runner-up for last season, and Tier 2 champion, Season 2 champion, sorry, rather than Tier 2. Season 2 champion Arix, who came second and looked to improve maybe to that championship spot again.
Yeah, so Alessandro's jumped ship to Team Arix. They've managed to poach him. They have lost Aura, who was always only on loan really anyway. But Alessandro's in the Nissan GTR, and have they entered their team yet? I don't think they've entered their team yet, so we don't know which of these will be racing, but I'm assuming it's not going to be Keplero. Keplero's in the Huracan this season. So I would expect Kep to be on the podium at some of these tracks, but not if he's racing on Sunday. Then we got Ben. Ben only made 1 appearance, I think, and I think he finished down in 7th in Lobby B at Blue Moon. He was in the Z4 though, so he's been a bit more serious this time around. He's in the Corvette. And I know, right?
Little upgrade, little
tiny upgrade. Just the Corvette's the best car for around here, so I think Ben should get into Lobby A if he's driving that Corvette. And then we have Javi, I would probably say the best esports driver, and the reason I say that is because he's finished each of the 3 seasons as the top driver on the ALR rankings. We've had other drivers come in for 1 or 2 races and do really well and then disappear again. But Javi's always been that constant right at the top every single week.
Yeah, and he is the big guy, let's be honest. He is the star man, potentially, of the entire server. Rather than just the...
I think that's fair to say. He's the fastest guy currently. He's coming back to Monday League as well. He had a season as a reserve, now he's back to full-time. So he's going to be challenging on 2 fronts, I reckon.
Yeah. And yeah, it all relies on him, largely on him to score the most points. Obviously, you need the depth in your team to be able to help out, but he is the points getter, and he's going to be the make or break, I think, this season for Arex, whether or not they're going to be, whether it's top 3, maybe even outside the top 5, or on top. He's going to be the main. He's going to be the main focus point for a large amount of these races.
Yeah. Where's Slim?
Arguing with us for roles, apparently. That's
Slim.
That's probably
Our tier 1 champion, current tier 1 champion Slim, hasn't been entered yet, so there is a possibility that he's going to be added a little bit later on. Because he's not been entered for Arex, he could potentially be sniped by another team. So if you're listening, you want the tier 1 champion, maybe slide into Slim's DMs. He might start showing up for Project Platypus or for Falcon in round 3. That would be drama.
The storyline's already being built, stirring the pot for absolutely no reason.
You have to. No, he'll probably join later, but I guess he hasn't picked his car or decided when he's going to race. If he is at all.
I'd give it a week.
Yeah, they've got Alessandro anyway as a very, very solid replacement to actually start the season. No Peachy as well this season.
Yeah, it seems that he's wandered off to ACC and those kind of games now, so I think we'll be seeing a lot less of Peachy as well. So they're just going to run with their 4-man squad for now, almost certainly going to turn 5 in like a week or so. But yeah, it's a very familiar team, right? We've seen them from the start. They've won a championship in this series before. So they have experience. They know what they need to do. They beat Halex in that season as well, which was a massive achievement. And FGR, who we were talking about earlier, they bet them as well.
Yeah.
But are currently 1 for 3, I guess, against Project Platypus. So it's going to be a case of where on the scale will they lie this season.
Yeah, I think top 5 for certain. Well, the thing is, like, all these new people have joined, but I still think Javi's going to continue performing exactly the same as he's always done. And just consistently. Even when he has his mistakes, he's still, like, basically on the podium. Are the points the same in Season 2? Yes, the Lobby B points are the same as in Season 2. So we've got 15 drivers in Lobby B, so it's going to be worth more points. 12 for the winner, 10 for second place, 8 for third, and then all the way down to 10th. So, yeah, qualifying in Lobby B is not as big of a disaster as last season when there was only 10 in Lobby B. But yeah, for Arex, I think they'll be a contender for sure. They'll be up there right at the end, and I think at the very least, they'll have a mathematical possibility of winning the championship on the final round. But I think they'll be a bit closer than that.
Well, yeah, they left themselves with a very tall order of Bathurst last season, and Project Platypus almost overturned it when everything that happened in that race and things just started to fall apart at the end. So it's gonna be, they've held their own for every season they've been in here. I wouldn't expect much different at all. It's just a case of how well are they going to hold their own against potentially better opposition. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so that brings us then to our final team. 2 times champions, 1 time third places. Project Platypus.
Yep, current reigning champions of our series here, and it was largely off the back of Zico and BX the last season, especially Zico at the end, who, whilst half the team was falling apart, was never really faced, especially at that Bathurst race at the end of the season. That man drove like his life depended on it.
Yeah. So, interesting stat for you. All of Project Platypus's drivers ended the season in the top 20 of all drivers in the ALR rankings. So they've got that strength and depth that we were talking about that you need. Like, if your top guys aren't available one Sunday, is that next person still going to be able to get into Lobby A and still score a good chunk of points for you? And that is a key reason why they've been able to be so consistent over the seasons.
Yeah. And it's not going to change anytime soon. But they have only bought 4 guys with them this time. I say only, like they aren't going to add immediately as soon as the season starts. But Yeah, they've brought 4 guys with them, and they're 4 very, very familiar faces to all of us here at ALR as well. So they've got the team captain Perry, who, well, a couple of the championships under his belt by this point, and he's flanked with, well, 3 other drivers: BX, Zico, and Matty.
Yeah.
As his backup this season.
So yeah, Perry's in the Nissan GTR, BX in the Lexus, Zico in the Supra, and Matty in the Huracan. So obviously Matty's not racing this week in the Huracan. It's the other 3. Zico, I think, could potentially win on Sunday in the Supra. I still think it's the quickest car, but we'll find out if that prediction's correct on Sunday. BX in the Lexus, again, is going to be doing the fuel thing. And then Perry will... So last time we had 30 drivers qualifying. For the very first round, Perry qualified in Lobby B and then won Lobby B. So that was still an alright result for him, even though he was fuming about it. So, yeah, he'll either want to be doing that or getting into Lobby A in the first place. We'll have to see how it goes, because Perry doesn't have... Well, he's maybe like half a second down on these other guys.
Yeah, and as you can see, Zico's still like 4 tenths down on Owen as well. So
yeah,
there is
Owen in the 43s, by the
way. We know what Project Platypus can do, right? They've won 2 championships before. The question marks I have with this team is coming from the end of last season, right? We saw it at Monza, we saw it at Bathurst, where the team faded miserably at the end. BX screwed up constantly throughout the season, spanning Blue Moon. Had arguably the worst race I think I've ever seen him have at Monza.
Yeah, Monza was not a good one.
You didn't do particularly well to back up at Bathurst either. So, are they firing on all cylinders, first off? And second off, even if they are firing on all cylinders, have they got enough in the tank left to go for a back-to-back? That's the question marks I have on this team, because right now, the only person showing me anything is Zico.
Yeah, well, last season was interesting. They started it off with Mahata. He won, and he didn't race again after that. So, is he ever going to come back? If he does, then that's going to be a massive benefit for Project Platypus. Tobias raced twice, and he won one of those races at Monza. It was double points. So he's really quick and waiting in the wings, potentially. Kellen has been really quick when he's raced. He's waiting in the wings. So, yeah, I think they do have the strength to contend again this season. I don't think you can write them off, because they made all those mistakes and they still won the season comfortably. So if you take out the mistakes, then they're even further ahead.
I don't know if I'd describe how last season ended as comfortably afterwards. It was comfortable going into the double points of 7 and 8. It almost toppled down.
Yeah, but their lead was so massive they were never really under threat. It was like Jenson Button when he won the first 6 of the 7 races in his season where he won the championship. Then he was like shit the rest of the season, but it didn't even matter. They weren't quite as bad as Jenson Button.
That's fair, but like it was the issue I have. It was like night and day realistically when you looked at it, because I was obviously looking in Lobby A doing the comms for it the entire season, especially up to week 6. Like the Al Sauce race was the peak of it, right? Because you could see BX and Zico had an unbelievable chemistry to them, where they were bouncing everything off each other as they go along, and then BX made the decision to pit, which could have backfired in about 1,000,001 different ways.
Yeah.
And then that worked. He got the fastest lap. Zico won the race. They got the 1-2. They built that gap. But then you can see that when BX makes mistakes, it's not necessarily the same firing machine that it has been. And if that happens again, because we know BX has been prone to spinning rather a lot recently, especially in the last season or 2.
What was he in last season?
Again, good question. I cannot remember. I actually do not know. That's something I was not ready to... The question I was not ready to answer.
You only commentated on him 8 times.
I know. Doesn't mean I was actually paying attention. Oh, I remembered for the last thing. He did the GTR 18.
Okay, so he's changed from the GTR to the Lexus, which... I don't...
Slightly more stable, I think.
The
slightly more
Lexus
stable,
on
maybe not as
the
quick.
exit of hairpins is a bit unpleasant, but apart from that, it's fine.
Whereas the GTR on slow corners, especially with a bit of a mare, especially you get on the power too quickly, it likes a little bit of a torque.
Yeah.
I think is the best way of putting it. It kind of just gets a little bit rear happy. So maybe a little bit more stable, but again, the question still kind of goes as whether or not BX can keep it on track long enough to help Zico out. Because Zico is obviously the consistent powerhouse. They have two, but Zico's the consistent powerhouse.
They'll be stronger at different tracks though with the Super and the Lexus, I reckon.
Yeah.
So I think BX, as the season wears on, maybe he won't be on the podium on Sunday in the Lexus, but as the season goes on, like Autopolis, Panorama, the Lexus is great at Panorama. Suzuka it should be really good at. Largo it should be really good. Yeah, this is a Lexus calendar. I can see why it was one of the most picked.
Yeah. So overall, where do you think our reigning champions are going to end?
I feel like I've said top 5 for everyone. So let me just get all the teams open so I can see. So I've said that Aero GT is finishing 5th, so that is gonna shuffle fuck knows who outside the top 5. But I've said that now. And then the top 4 in no particular order. I think you've got Project Platypus, you've got Arix, you've got ERA. Oh my god. And you've got Spider GT, and it's not going to be Aero. I've said it. I've got to stick with it. It's going to be Aero GT. That's the top 5. FGR and Falcon are going to miss out on the last couple of rounds with Apex and Pegasus and PRU.
That is okay. That is a huge call. We might be looking back on this. I might be
in my head canon. Syndra's had like the mother of all fallouts with Falcon. He's left the team. He's not going to be entered later. The Ahmed's in shambles. Behind the scenes a mess. That's why they're not qualifying in the top 5. And no one can convince me otherwise. Yeah, that's what's going on.
I think my top 5, I'm going to put in no particular order. I'm going to put ERA, Spider, FGR, Project Platypus, and Arix.
So you think Falcon's not actually qualifying?
I think that's the 5 that I'm going to go with. I just think that overall, unless Syndra turns up and races a large chunk, I think they might be the weakest of the 6. Which is not a slight to them. There's just a really good 16s, and someone has to miss out. But yeah, I think that in the same way last season did, that they came on a little bit too late. It might unfold in the same way again for them.
Okay. So here's my serious pick, but this is a little bit hazy. So I think Project Platypus, Arix, and R-Lab Falcon are definitely qualifying for the top 5. They know what they're doing. Like, Falcon finished the season stronger than anyone else. That's, like, I just can't see it not happening. And then it's going to be 2 out of the 3 of the new teams. ERA, Spider, or FGR. I just can't decide who because I don't know enough about them.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be who's the more consistent out of those 3. And who, like, are they going to get the strategies wrong? Like, we know these guys race in other esports leagues, but this is quite a different format where you've got 10 minutes of intense pressure to get into lobby A, and that we've seen before. People who can set top 10 times in GT7 time trials can't get into lobby A because the pressure's on and you don't have, I don't know, 2 hours to set a lap with no pressure and no ghosting or anything like that. So yeah, we might see some flops, you know. It's bound to happen. The competition's too high.
Yeah, we definitely could. With this being said, the last thing that we do, the last thing for this stream then.
Okay.
What is your bold prediction for the season? We do this every single season. It makes at least one of us look like an absolute twat. But what's your bold prediction for this season?
Bold prediction. I reckon that Pegasus will get their first race win in Lobby A since Hizal. Because I think
Okay.
there's 1 or 2 drivers there that could win a race. And if not, Hizal might come back at some point.
Outlandish. It's incredibly outlandish.
I'm going to start DMing him. Or I'll get the key to DM him, actually.
Okay. My bold prediction is that this championship will be over by the time week 7 week 7 ends.
You think there's going to be one team out of this lot that's going to be so dominant that even with double points, which means a quarter of the season's points that are still up for grabs, won't matter because they'll have to finish like almost every car in the top 5 the whole time for the first 7 rounds.
I think it's doable. And
who's that going to be?
I think. Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
You can't. You obviously have someone in mind.
I think it's ERA. I think
ERA are going to be that good that no matter who they put out, they're always going to finish in the top 5 in Lobby A. They're never going to mess up. They're never going to be in Lobby B. They're never going to have spins and crashes and drama.
I personally think that they will win the championship by the end of round 7.
This is a more wild.
Round 8 will matter.
This is a more wild prediction than last season when you said Project Racing were going to beat Pegasus.
That is my wild prediction. You can quote me on that, and I'm actually going to stick behind that one. The entire
all these other guys have almost every team has drivers capable of winning races, though.
They do.
Don't you think?
But I think they do, but. Also, just looking at this lobby in the same time, 43-0, no one's even got close to that tonight.
We got a few within, I think, half a second. But that's only qualifying. It's only qualifying. It's only half, it's not even half the story.
This man, I would about to say, I would like to point out that this man, Evo was doing the same time on medium that the rest of the group are currently doing on softs.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to point that out in argument of my prediction.
He's just come into the lobby, said the fastest time by miles, left, refused to elaborate, and I'm trying to say that they might not win. Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? Round 1, I think they will win. They know this track really well because of the endurance race. Round 2, different kettle of fish.
Okay, I think you're coping at this point.
No, I think your predictions are too bold. There's gonna be. It's not gonna be plain sailing at all. Especially with. Oh no, it wasn't them who was in the Porsche. It was Spider who was in the Porsche.
It didn't have to be plain sailing. They just have to win it by the end of week 7. I don't care how they do it. They go in the wall again.
I know. He's left. Oh, he's done. All right. There's no one else left on track now, so I think that's a good time to wrap it up, actually. So you're going ERA winning the whole thing. I haven't said who I think is going to win the whole thing. I have to go different. I'm going to go for Arix again.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. Let's see how this season plays out.
Yeah. Right. So we are going to be live on Sunday, usual time, 8 o'clock UK time. It's going to be Pyro doing Lobby A, I'm going to be doing Lobby B, but then next week we're both going to be in Lobby A, and Natty G is going to be commentating Lobby B for the season, so it's going to be a pretty good one, lots of action, and I'm quite looking forward to commentating Lobby B, because I know I'm going to get some incredibly quick people there this week.
Yeah, it's gonna be like that all season.
Yeah.
Realistically. Yeah, you're gonna have at least one or two of the top teams drivers in there, so you're actually gonna have a decent race to go through.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
Carnage.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks for watching, everyone.
In a bit.
In a bit.